and welcome to Reliving My Youth. My name is Noel. My guest this week is Anne-Marie Johnson. Now, the very talented actress and comedian has been in some amazing stuff. You've probably seen her on the TV show In the Heat of the Night. For 6 seasons, she played Althea Tibbs, Harold Rollins' wife. She left after 6 seasons. We discuss why. Following that, she showed her versatile range on 1 season of In Living Color. We talk about that, the cast that she worked with, who she really loved. But I discovered her on What's Happening Now, playing Roger's wife, Nadine. For 3 seasons, we discussed that show and how she kind of fit in with the original cast. Some amazing movies. I'm Gonna Get You, Sucka, the movie ceiling scene playing Cherry. We also talk about Hollywood Shuffle, amazing movie, starring and directed by Robert Townsend. In 2005, she became the first African American elected vice president of SAG. We discussed her role there. We also discussed the ending of the strike. Really enjoyed my conversation with Anne-Marie. We touched a lot of topics, and I hope you do as well. So Anne-Marie, thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it.
No problem. This is fun. This is easy.
Yeah,
This is
perfect.
the easiest part of my day.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. So I know you are part of like the SAG after the
Yes.
board, right? You were the
Yeah.
first African American elected, right? Vice president.
I was the first African American elected to the vice presidency. So I was vice president for 4 terms under, 3 different presidents.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so you're still involved with
I'm
it.
still on the board
Okay.
reluctantly. I took a break, right after merger because I was against merging the 2
Okay.
unions.
Right.
So I was unfortunately part of the committee that created the Constitution for merger. I saw the direction the union was going, and so I said, it's better for me to step away and allow new, fresh minds
Right.
to try it. So I took a break for 10 years,
Oh,
9 years, and then I was asked to run again, and I ran. So here I
okay.
am.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think of the agreement that
Horrible.
horrible?
It's the worst contract. I've been on negotiating committees off and on for SAG Legacy and SAG After briefly. I've been on probably 5 or 6 different negotiating committees. So that's a lot of contracts
Right.
to negotiate. This is, in my experience, the worst contract I've ever seen.
Oh
And
wow.
it's the beginning of what has been a slow erosion of unionism within the Screen Actors Guild AFTRA, which basically began when AFTRA started inserting itself and offering cheaper contracts to the same employers, undercutting us. That started around 2006,
Okay.
2007. So this contract is just a reflection of how weakened our union is,
Right.
and it'll only get worse.
Is now with like obviously streaming, there's more like jobs and stuff like that. Does that affect how the contract, was drawn up too?
It was really streaming is a disaster. We didn't learn from the musicians on how technology
Right.
uh, lessened the ability to make a middle class earning for musicians. They were the canary in the coal mine, and we didn't listen. I think there was a lot of hubris and thinking, oh, this couldn't happen to us. Our
Mhm.
face is on the screen. We're not anonymous. And we just didn't take it seriously enough. Well, many actors did, but
Yeah.
our negotiators and
Yeah.
others didn't. So streaming is a huge problem. Net companies like Netflix and others really aren't in the business of art. They're in the business of commerce.
Right.
They only care about the dollar. They only care about their shareholders. They don't care about art whatsoever. if they could do this without us, they would. And that's why the current contract with the gaping holes in AI protections or lack thereof,
Right.
that is what's really going to be the end of us.
Yeah. Now, do you think the actors realized that before they voted on
No.
this? No, they didn't.
I think timing is everything. Had we not experienced one of the most traumatic experiences the country, the world has experienced outside of World War II, the pandemic,
Right.
and how it was so poorly handled by the Trump administration, and how it was weaponized and politicized, and how millions of people died purely out of ignorance.
Yeah.
Um, I think we were not ready to be shut down again. So even though we were out on strike for a long time, it wasn't 6 months like the commercial strike in the 2000s. When you couple with the international shutdown of the country, and then the slow reopening, and then the which I championed, the requirements of hiring with regard to our industry, because we were pretty successful during the worst of the pandemic. I mean, Hollywood bounced right back because we adopted very strict policies, and it worked.
Right.
But keeping that in mind, there were many people who were against those policies. They thought that it was infringing on their on their right to control their
Liberties.
bodies.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I understand. But my industry is a private industry. It's not a public industry.
Right.
And our producers rule the roost. And when the producers saw how much money they were losing when shows had to shut down, they said, yeah, I think we're going to make vaccination a requirement.
Exactly.
And it worked. But still, when you have that psychological damage, and now there's the writer's strike, and then there's our strike, the actors were exhausted, and they said, we don't care how the sausage is made, just give me the sausage. And they approved it. Now, the approval rate was not as high as the union had hoped.
I saw that. Yeah.
Right? They were hoping for overwhelming.
Exactly.
Well, it wasn't.
No.
Which was really quite encouraging for those of us who are advocating for a no vote. But here we are. And I think many actors didn't have the bandwidth to even want to understand what they were approving.
Right.
And we find ourselves in the circumstances that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think you got like public support over the strike? Because I mean,
no,
everyone thinks like actors, make billions, they wipe their butt with $100 bills and stuff like that. That's like such a small percentage of actors.
Listen, the statistics are startling. The Screen Actors Guild AFTRA represents roughly 160,000 members. And out of that 160,000, let's say 100,000 are actual on-camera performers, actors. Only 18% of our membership earns enough to qualify for health insurance. And to qualify for health insurance, you have to earn $27,000 in your earnings period. So at any given time, over 90% of our members are unemployed as performers. They have other gigs. So very few, a fraction of 1% are considered part of the 1%ers, right? The millionaires, those who make maybe over $100,000 a year are just make up a small percentage of our membership. The overwhelming majority of our members barely make a living. And so the image of that is not the narrative that people want to know, right? They think we're all just having cars picking us up and taking us to work and having a barista in our bathrooms.
Right.
And it's a hustle. I've been hustling for over 40 years. It is, and you have to have the stomach for it. That's why there's so much emotional and psychological damage in our industry. That's why there's so much drug abuse and alcoholism and depression. And listen, no one puts a gun to our head to be an actor, but acting is a very, it's a tough gig. It's really quite difficult.
Right. I guess you can say all all the issues that children actors have as well. I mean, that's
Horrible.
unfortunate. Yeah. Did any of this like was this any of this conscious to you when you first started?
Hmm. Well, I knew at a very young age I wanted to be an actor. I think I was probably in kindergarten or the
Oh,
first
wow.
grade. But I had the best parents in the world who loved me unconditionally and supported my desire to be an actor. But
Mhm.
there were also, Ann and Joe Johnson, and
Right.
my father was a police officer, and my mother was a school teacher.
Mhm.
It was, you better have a viable backup
Right.
plan. And having a viable backup plan was easy because I knew that they supported my first love. So as long as I knew that I was going to be able to find a job if necessary, because I don't believe in starving. I don't believe in the starving artist bullshit because
Right.
it is bullshit.
Yeah.
There's nothing fun about choosing by voluntarily saying, "Oh, can I afford my gas bill or do I get food?" No, there's
Right.
nothing romantic about that,
No.
especially in Los Angeles. So, with their support, I knew how tough it was going to be. I went to school and studied and trained to be a professional actor, but I also read a lot about the business. So I anticipated, I kind of plotted out my
Right.
journey, and it all worked. It
That's
all
great.
worked.
Yeah. That's great. Now, you would have done it anyway if your parents weren't. It's like behind you, right?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah. My other choice, I would have loved to have gone to law school.
Okay.
Um, so no, I don't know. No one has ever asked me that question.
Oh, wow.
Would have continued? I don't know. I mean, I had other interests,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
think God placed me on earth just to do this. So maybe I would have said, well,
Yeah.
screw your support.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and
Right.
it would have been a lot harder.
Right.
But I
Because
was very fortunate.
that's great.
I
Yeah.
live in LA. It was all here.
Exactly. You weren't going cross country with like 50 bucks in your hand in a bag.
I didn't
Exactly.
go to an audition. In fact, the first I did a series called What's Happening Now,
Right.
and that soundstage was
Hmm.
literally 2 miles it's 3 miles from my house.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So there you go. Sums it
Right.
right up.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to mention that now. I mean, I've seen you and stuff before. What's happening now? It probably didn't register that it was you until afterwards, like Double Trouble,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think.
I didn't do that. Well, no, let's see. What's Happening Now? I think we started What's Happening Now in 1985. And
Yeah.
my first professional TV gig was 1983. So,
Okay. Right. And like now everything gets rebooted. Every like shitty show it comes back
Woo,
and stuff
good
like that.
Lord.
And
Yeah.
back then I think it was like Leave It to Beaver. I think they had like Still the Beaver or something like.
Right.
And I think maybe like they brought back the Brady Bunch for a little bit.
Yes.
That's like a
Right. Mhm.
drama, which was just terrible. And then What's Happening Now, which like such an iconic show. I watched it growing up
Right.
so
Right.
much, and going back, the original three, and then Shirley, and obviously Dee came back for a little bit, and
He's
then
great.
the
And
Rogers
Mabel
wife.
King.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And then you playing Rogers' wife. Now, was it hard, kind of like being the new person in
You
with that
know,
cast?
was it hard? It was no, it was a blast. I mean, Shirley really put me through the ringer. I
Right.
mean, but then by the second season, we really became good
Oh,
friends.
good.
I learned a lot from Shirley about the business part of it. She was really a smart businesswoman. Oh, so smart. Um, and she would always bring her mom to the tapings and she'd have her mom picked up in a car, and so I started doing that. So I
Okay.
brought my mom and my parents to every Friday night. They would come to the tapings, and they'd have their chairs in the front and have a car pick them
Mhm.
up. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from Shirley, but no, it was a very easy transition for me. It was it wasn't Ernie was probably the funniest um co-star I've ever male
Right.
co-star that
Okay.
I've ever worked with. It was really quite fun. I mean, we had a lot of
Yeah.
fun, and you
Yeah.
could see it in the work that we did. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It definitely showed on screen. There was a
Yeah.
great chemistry and, really good. Now, were you a fan of the original?
I don't think I ever watched the
Oh,
original.
wow. Okay.
I was familiar with the
Right.
original, right? I knew the music, I knew the
Yeah.
characters, but I was not a regular viewer of the original.
Okay.
So,
Right.
yeah, what was I watching back then? I don't even know. I think I was
Mhm.
too busy. I was
Right.
in, I was doing plays,
Yeah.
and yeah, I was staying late in the auditorium at school building, you
Right.
know, sets. So I
Yeah.
didn't spend a lot of time
Right.
watching.
Yeah. Well, it's like athletes. They never watch sports. They always just play it.
No,
Too
you're
busy to
doing
watch
it.
it. You do
Right.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing it. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Fred Berry, who played Rerun, was
Oh,
only,
sure.
yeah, he was great. Unfortunately, he was only on the first season because
Yeah.
he got fired. Now,
He had a lot of problems, but
yeah, how difficult was that on set?
well, how difficult was it? It wasn't seamless.
Right.
um, once you get over the embarrassment for that performer, and
Yeah.
the stuff the information they can't really talk about and stuff like that. Once you
Right.
get over that, and when when we knew he was going to try to move on to other things,
Yeah.
then it was fine. I mean,
Right.
it was business. That was his personal.
Can't deal
uh
with it. Right.
it had nothing to do with us.
Yeah. I mean, the show was still good without him. So I
Yeah,
don't,
I
yeah,
mean, you missed
we
him,
missed
but
him.
but we
Yeah.
evolved.
Right. Exactly. That's what good shows do. You know,
You just
Yeah,
evolved. Yeah.
right. And then back then there wasn't streaming, but there was another S word, syndication, which people don't know what syndication is anymore, where, it was on different times, different channels throughout the
Let me tell you
country.
something. Syndication, back then, What's Happening Now was part of a group of like Charles in Charge.
Yeah.
What's Happening Now. There were a few out here. It was called the it was Columbia
Okay.
Television,
Right.
but it was syndication, and it was a block of shows, and you were different times in different
Yeah.
cities, but it offered a real alternative to network shows.
Right.
It broadened the horizon for a lot of actors in categories that weren't necessarily cast in network shows. It was kind of the beginning of diversity on shows. So I was really fortunate to be part of that new wave of syndication. And it's unfortunate now because syndication used to be a gold mine. You would
Right.
pray that you had a network show that had at least 64 episodes in the can,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then you'd go to syndication,
Yeah.
and that would, take care of you during droughts of work.
Right.
Those days are over.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately. Yeah. Now you mentioned diversity, and one of my favorite movies, I love the Hollywood Shuffle.
Oh,
Robert Townsend is a genius. I
such
think
a
he's
great film.
yeah. You were great playing his girlfriend Lydia in the movie. Do you think the movie? I just recently watched it, and I think it still holds up to this day.
Oh,
Yeah.
big time. It has legs. Not a lot
Yeah.
of films made that long ago
Right.
about that issue
Yeah.
have legs.
Right.
And even though work, job opportunities, storylines for African Americans at leaps and bounds of improvement
Right.
and So anyone who says things haven't changed are lying or just purely ignorant.
Right.
There is so much work for African Americans, not just people of color, because there's whole categories of people of color who are not getting enough work. Native Americans,
Right.
without a question, are
Yeah.
cheated left and right. Of course, I mean, look at the
Right.
whole history
Yeah.
of our indigenous,
Yeah,
um,
totally.
and it just continues even in my industry. But for African Americans, our statistics exceed our national statistics. So,
Right.
so it's great.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
achieved that. What isn't great is our content is being seen on distribution platforms that do not pay.
Yeah.
So we may be working more,
But you're
but
not seeing the
we're
rewards.
not being
Yeah.
paid. And
Yeah.
even though Taraji probably screwed the pooch talking about payment disparity while
Right.
she was promoting a film, which
Yeah.
ultimately negatively impacted the film.
Right.
Um, I don't know about her category of
Yeah.
payment, because I've never been paid as much as she's been paid.
Right.
But in the lower echelon of salaries, there is very little parity. And in content that is made specifically for streaming, it's horrible.
Right.
Across the board,
Yeah.
it's horrible. But if it's horrible for white people, it's really
Really
horrible
bad. Nice.
for
Yeah.
black people.
Yeah. Now, I mean, obviously you're more negative towards streaming, but I mean, it does open up an avenue for more actors
It
to
does.
get their
It
foot in
opens
the
up
door.
an avenue, but it's an avenue that was intentionally created to give the impression that people are giving the opportunity to
Opportunity.
create their art. And then they
Yeah.
look back and say, I've made absolutely no money
I
at it.
mean,
They
yeah.
can't create solid pensions. They can't qualify for health insurance, but their content is out there.
Right. It's out. Yeah. True. Which is you can do by yourself and put it on
You can
YouTube.
do by yourself. And
Yeah.
what the industry has done, because they're not artists, no one at Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
no one is an artist there.
Yeah.
These are not. It has actually gone back to the studio system.
Okay.
When during the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and then it ended in the 60s, mid 60s, the studio system created wonderful content, terrific content. But these were not artists. These were business people who wanted to create a platform that the
Mm.
audience wanted desperately,
Right.
that created wealth for all the owners of the studios, but who placed the actors in a studio system that kind of
Yeah.
boxed them. Now, granted, many benefited from the studio system,
Right.
and some of the best films ever made were made during the studio system. But you also had some of very wide-ranging talent like Betty Davis and Olivia de Havilland and Paul Mooney and
Mm.
others who wanted out of the studio system, and they had to sue to get out.
Yeah.
Okay, so now cut to the 21st century, and you kind of have the same setup of Netflix and others
Mm.
providing content that the audience loves to have.
Yeah.
The creators of the content aren't making money at all.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, because I mean they're cutting down on their, password, sharing and stuff like that.
Right?
But
Yeah.
I mean, what is it, $19 a
Well,
month
but
or
but
whatever?
also, yeah, they've also created an audience that is not sophisticated enough to realize that they're being hoodwinked.
Right.
I mean, okay, we'll feed you this for a little bit, but then we're going to raise it. So if you want to watch it without commercials,
Yeah, you
this
gotta
is
pay.
and wasn't
Right.
streaming created to not have commercials
Yeah.
and to have a subscription base?
Mm-hmm. That's what it
Now,
was. Yep. Yeah. Because they realize they can make even more money by having advertisements.
that's right. And I guarantee you'll see less original content and you'll see more licensing.
Yeah.
Netflix and others. So they'll just license
Mhm.
the work that's already been created,
Right.
like Suits, perfect
Yeah,
example.
it's
They'll
big
just
now.
have a
Everyone's watching
huge
that. Yeah.
library, yeah,
Yeah.
and they'll just live off of that.
Yeah. Rather than, get a budget for a movie, bring the
Right.
actors in, just,
Right.
show
So much
Friends.
easier.
It's,
Yeah.
exactly. Everyone wants to watch Friends or The Office.
Yeah.
Just
I
get
mean,
that.
really, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
there are a million things that are being offered to you. But
Yeah.
don't you kind of end up back to
Of course. Your comfort. Exactly.
macaroni and cheese?
Exactly. I watch Seinfeld every night. I've seen it 9 million times and I love it. That's not going to change, and I still laugh, but that's me. And I'm, prime, viewer for them.
I'm still watching.
Yeah.
I love Me TV.
I love,
So
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
watching Thunderbirds. I'm
Oh, yeah.
watching Perry Mason.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that I didn't watch as a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm discovering it.
Right.
And really, when you think about it, it's not just comfort food. These
Mhm.
projects had better content,
Really good. Yeah.
better made.
Yeah. Exactly. Have you downloaded Pluto TV?
No, what is that?
It's a free site. You can watch on any of like your smart TV down on your phone or whatever. It's basically a cable system that has news,
Oh,
drama, but all this, like you mentioned, the classic TV. There's a station. I think it's the Perry Mason station. There's like a
what?
Happy Day station where 24 hours they just run the shows.
No kidding. And
It's
it's
free. It's
called
free.
Pluto
Pluto
TV.
TV. It's free. They have movies. They have I don't think they have sports, but they have like reality TV if you're into
Are
that.
they commercial? Are there commercials?
I think they do have a little bit of commercial. I mean, it's
Okay,
free,
that's fine.
so
Yeah,
which is
that's cool.
fine. It's like we grew up on
That's,
anyway. But
hey,
it's
I need to get
yeah,
up and get water every once in a while, so
yeah,
that's okay.
exactly. There's a Beverly Hills 90210. I think there might be Melrose, so you might even watch yourself
I
on
should look
there.
that up to see where my residuals are.
Exactly. Yeah, check it out. But yeah, it's great. It's
Can I do it off of a smart TV or a
yeah,
Fire?
just Fire Stick. I think you just type up Pluto TV and download it.
Very
Yeah,
good. I think I'll look that up.
it's great. Yeah, it's the best money you'll never spend, and it's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, it's great. But I want to go back to Hollywood Shuffle for a second. Do you feel like Robert got the credit he really deserved?
Yes, I
Okay.
do. Um, yeah, I think so. And it wasn't just Robert at the time. It was Robert and Keenan,
Right. Yeah.
And then we did from the success of that, HBO reached out to Robert and Keenan, and then we did the Hollywood Shuffle
Shuffle.
Hours,
Right. Yeah.
that were which were hilarious.
Yeah. They were funny.
And had they not had a differing of artistic opinions, Keenan and Robert,
Right.
that could have continued
Yeah.
so much longer than it did. But no, I think, and then obviously, I had the best of both worlds. I
You did both, work for both.
for Robert and worked for
Yeah.
Keenan. So,
Right.
but I think Robert certainly was recognized
Okay.
as a very creative and forward thinking a director and writer, and his movies are really well respected. Five Heartbeats,
Yeah.
Hollywood Shuffle. I mean, excuse me, Hollywood Shuffle, Heartbeats, and a few others. They still are just
Right.
honored all the
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
So I think and then he edited television series. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, there need not be any Jerry Lewis telethons for Robert. I think he's
Okay,
doing
good. Right. Yeah. No, Five Heartbeats. I mean, you had a small part in that, but
I was cut out.
yeah,
I
because
was heartbroken. I was
yeah.
so angry. I didn't go. I did not attend the premiere.
Whoa.
I
So
didn't know that
right.
I was cut out until someone said, "You're not in Five Heartbeats," and then my name was at the end of the credit. And I
Yeah.
went, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, like you were like one scene in like the studio or something like that.
Oh, and that's not
Yeah.
the one scene that. So
Right.
I think the problem was that no one had the decency to let me know.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that bothered me. That was my ego getting in the way.
Yeah.
So, but still, Robert definitely is well respected in and out of the industry.
Yeah. What was the difference between working with him and working with Keenan?
Oh God. Keenan, the whole Wayans family
Hmm.
have such a spirit of joy.
Right.
And Keenan never took himself too seriously. Um, Kim and Sean and I mean, they were just all. I always enjoyed working with any of the Wayans.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you Sucka was just like it was
Yeah.
just uh, wherever I am. If I'm there on a professional basis and I'm, meeting audiences or signing
Yeah.
autographs, that I'm gonna get you Sucka is kind of like my thing. I mean, people
Right.
know me. A few years ago, I was in shooting a guest star in Portland, Oregon. And the prop master pulled me aside and he said, "Hey," and it was a drama I was shooting, everything was very
Yeah.
serious. And so the prop master pulled me on. He says, can I show you something? And I'm thinking, what's
Yeah.
this dude asking me to go to his trailer? Am I going to
Right.
have to
Yeah,
go to
exactly.
HR about
Yeah,
this?
right. I have some mace on me or
Yeah,
something.
you're right. Yeah. And it was my leg, my prosthetic leg from I'm Sucka
From
that he
Cherry.
bought in auction. And yeah,
Oh my God, that's amazing.
isn't that funny?
Yeah. I wonder if that would be the highest at auction, as opposed to your butt, your boobs, your
You
wig.
know what? That's a really good, probably the leg because it had
Yeah.
a shoe
Right.
connected to it, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
probably the
Did,
leg.
did you sign it? Like, don't make me hop after you or
I
something?
I should have. I should have.
Yeah.
I was so taken aback, like, hey,
Right.
because I hadn't seen that in decades
Yeah.
and it was. And but I thought that was very sweet that he had that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I keep going back to Hollywood Shuffle, but
Yeah.
my favorite scene in that movie is when he does the black acting school and he's
Oh,
the British actor. But the funniest
sure.
part is he has white instructors doing everything.
Yes, that's the
It's
joke.
brilliant. It's so funny. Yeah.
That's the joke, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
uh Robert knew he had a vision and he knew
yeah,
exactly how to tell this very painful story
right.
because um uh many of the experiences that you saw us lampoon on, were
Yeah,
what we experienced. I mean, I cannot tell
right.
you in the beginning of my career and up until maybe 10 years ago, I was always asked, can she be more Black? And that is a common
Right.
thread for many African American actors. If you're not Afrocentric enough, you see, television is
Yeah,
so quick, right? And producers and directors don't want to waste any time um, to explain who you may be
right.
racially, right? So if someone's looking at me or any, Sabrina LaBeouf or any other African American actor who happens to be of fairer skin, it's kind of like, nah, we this is not the we this is not the image we really want to portray. So obviously, in the history of Black media and the participation of African Americans in the American scene, only fair skinned women were cast
Mm,
for years because the assumption was the fairer you were, the more comfortable the audience would be. The fairer you
right.
were, more attractive you would be perceived. I mean, this is all part of the psychological damage that African Americans are still dealing with purely from forced
Right.
enslavement. So it carries through even internally. There is still that struggle of are you black enough?
Right.
Or why do you sound the way you sound? It's an ongoing conversation, and it's been that way my entire career.
Wow.
And
Now,
that's what Hollywood Shuffle,
yeah.
we also talked about that. And but it was coming from many of our personal experiences.
Right. So on the flip side, how many roles did you get because you were light skinned?
Uh Probably the overwhelming majority.
Mm.
But it's not just because of my skin color. Um, I probably lost more roles, not because of my skin color, but because of what they assume Black people should be like. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was the ignorance and the institutional racism in my industry. You know, a lot of people think the industry is, oh, you're just a bunch of progressives. No,
Yeah. No.
this is one of the most conservative, um, self-consumed, worried about,
Right.
you know, it is not a liberal, a bastion of liberal attitudes at all. But it was, I remember I had auditioned for, oh gosh, it was, I'm not going to name it because I don't want to insult the
Right.
actor who did get the job.
Okay.
But it was between myself and this actress. And it was to portray a professional person in
Mm.
a medical setting. And I didn't get it. Ultimately, I did not get the role because I could pronounce words too clearly. And they thought that because I was too articulate, and that articulate is a code word for you sound too
Too white.
white,
Yeah.
right? So because I was too articulate, they thought that the African American audience would not be able to relate to me. So to answer your question, I have probably, listen, like I said, no charity for me. I'm
Right.
good.
Yeah.
I am,
Right. Yeah.
but if I were a little more identifiable as more Afrocentric, I probably
Mm.
would have gone further in my career.
Wow. Hmm.
And the choices I made.
Right.
I made a conscious choice. I said quite early in my career, unless it's a spoof like Hollywood Shuffle or I'm going to get you Sucka, I'm not in this to make fun of Black people.
Right.
I'm not in this to demean and to, you know, those days are over. God bless Hattie McDaniel and
Hmm.
Snowflake. And
Yeah.
they were forced to do that,
Right. Right.
right? And these were trained, theater trained, Chitlin Circuit trained, Broadway trained performers who were forced. And I said, no, I'm not going to be part of that.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. I guess there's always work at the post office, right?
There's always a job at the post office.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true, right?
Yeah. But a show that's like universally loved between, young people, old people, blacks, whites is
Sure.
in He the Night,
Oh,
you know?
changed my whole career.
Right. And that was a show that when it was on, I'll be honest, I didn't watch it
No,
because
no. A
I
lot,
was,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I don't think it was too adult, but
You were
not too
probably too
mature.
young and it wasn't
No,
in your.
it was just I was just watching,
Yeah,
stupid shows back or whatever.
right.
It wasn't.
I
But
get it.
yeah, I caught up on it, and it was absolutely fantastic. I
Oh
mean,
my God.
you and
Gosh,
Howard
what a
were
show.
great together.
Mhm.
But you left after the sixth season. And
Yes, I left
yeah,
in mid-sixth season. Yeah, that's
yeah,
accurate.
and I know like Howard had his issues and stuff like that. But was that a difficult decision for you?
Very, but I didn't leave because of Howard.
Right, I know that. Yeah,
Um, but it was difficult because I loved playing Althea Tibbs. She was to me the ultimate character to play,
right.
you know. The storylines were incredible.
Yeah,
We were so ahead of I remember one episode we dealt with a young woman who gives birth and puts her baby in a dumpster. No one was doing
right.
that. Nobody. And we dealt with race. But I knew my time was short because
Mhm.
Howard was having his difficulties. Carol O'Connor had found more interest in a recurring character and was giving that recurring character some of Althea's work
Okay.
in screen time. So, and it was tough being on location for 7 months out of the year.
Right.
And we were in we were in Covington, Georgia, very hard. I made that decision against the better judgment of my agents and
Okay.
whatnot. But I knew that I was really going to be reduced to just there.
Background. Yeah.
Just kind of, and no offense to background at all.
Right. Of course. But
I was going to be background.
yeah.
And that is not what I signed up to do. So when I left, it was a very, very, very difficult decision. But thank God for Tommy Davidson,
Right.
because Tommy and I did a movie together and we had a blast. And Tommy called me and he said, "Are you on that serious shit still?" I
Right.
said, "No, truth be told, I'm on." He says, "Want to have some fun?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Yes." He said, "You want to do In Living Color?" And I said, "Yes."
Yeah.
And he got me the job.
Wow.
I didn't even audition.
That's great.
Yeah. So Tommy Davidson got me on In Living Color.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you had some like great skits on there, the Mary
Oh,
Tyler and then
oh my God.
the poetic injustice. Yeah. And then, yeah, my favorite, I think, is the church shouting competition.
That
And I
is
love that one.
is that not the ultimate?
Yeah.
That scene is so funny that I found it and I put it on my comedy reel.
Oh, that's
That
fun.
to
Yeah.
me is,
Yeah.
that was one of the
Yeah.
funniest. Oh man, that's
Yeah.
very, very, it was very funny.
Yeah. I laugh every time I watch
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That was my homage to Lucille Ball, man. The
Right.
physical comedy in that. It
Yeah.
was that's some funny shit.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like as a young like comedian, like is she like the standard for you? Is that the one
For
you look
me, yes.
at? Yeah.
For me,
Okay.
yes. Without question. It because I was known, and I still do it, but certainly not as much now. I was known as a physical comedian.
Okay.
So, I was the one who would do the pratfalls and, the pie in the face, and
Right.
because I didn't care about my looks. It was really about the joke, the
Right.
comedy.
Yeah.
Lucille Ball didn't care about her looks.
No.
She cared about the comedy, and she
Yeah.
worked really hard at it. Comedy is hard.
Yeah.
So to me, and I can name every single episode of I Love Lucy. So while people were watching other things,
Yeah.
I was studying
Right.
I Love Lucy. So I mean, I can see my work and see her work. I've stolen from her,
Right. Yeah.
multiple times. So there was an episode on What's Happening Now where Nadine was playing a man.
Right. Yeah.
And I stole some physical characteristics when Lucy played a man in the stag episode when they went to a stag party. So Lucille Ball to me was just school.
Right. No,
School.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, no one cried like her. I mean, it
Oh,
was great.
yes, it's school. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely school.
Yeah. No, Keenan was still on, right? And Living Color when you were. He was
No,
not there anymore,
no,
right?
all the Wayans,
This
they
was
had
on.
now this I didn't know.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
Reunion. Yeah.
I get to hang with Keenan
Yeah.
and no, there was that falling out with
Okay.
Fox and the Wayans production company, and
Well,
That was it. So
wow.
I was with Jim Carrey and David Allen Greer and Tommy, obviously,
Yeah.
and Jamie Foxx and Taki. I mean, I was with
Yeah.
a
So
nice,
still
nice,
great people. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Right. Yeah. What was Jim Carrey like?
The best,
Yeah.
the best. I loved working with Jim. I loved working with Jim.
Yeah. Because he was making movies at that point, right? I mean, like,
He
he had
just started The
started.
Mask,
Oh, okay.
and he brought the stunning, tall woman to the set
Right.
so he could show her. I think we were doing a Fire Marshal Bill skit, and we
Yeah.
were in rehearsal. So he
Yeah.
brought her, and it was Cameron
Oh,
Diaz.
yeah. Wow. Right.
Yeah, no, he was wonderful. He was great.
Yeah. It's great. And then like after that, you guest starred on like every
Everything.
show, every show. I mean, I could probably play a game with you and say, "Well, you on this show?" I don't know if you would know every show that you've been guest starred on. I've done that before with
No,
guests.
sometimes I have to go and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know every show.
Right. But like, which one was your favorite? Like, just not just because of the show itself, but just the experience. And which one was like the absolute like worst for you?
The worst is easy.
Okay.
Worst is easy because uh I have a pretty extensive
Yeah.
body of work, right? So I would have to say 99% of my experience has been fantastic. So the worst is the easiest thing I could pull. Anything I did for Chuck Lorre was the worst.
Oh wow. Okay.
And what Mad About You, the worst jobs I've ever had in my life.
You're not the first person to say mad about you on the show.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll leave it at
Oh yeah,
that.
she was horrible. She was
Yeah.
horrible. The director was horrible. Paul Reiser, God bless him,
Right.
tried to mitigate and
Yeah.
create more of a. He was
Yeah.
lovely. He could not have been more
Yeah.
lovely. But that was a horrible atmosphere.
Why? Why?
Um, it was just horrible. I think everyone thought they were just so precious.
Pressure.
That's my term, and everyone thinks, oh, we are
Yeah.
doing comedy, and this is
Yeah.
so serious.
Right.
No, not
No,
really.
it's
It's
comedy.
come on.
Yeah. Right.
It's pie in your face and a
Yeah.
fart.
Right.
But it was uh it was so unenjoyable.
Oh wow. And that was a show also that was rebooted, and I think that just failed miserably.
What do you do? I just do the shrug.
Exactly, right? Karma, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, what do you do?
Yeah, right. But how was your experience on Melrose Place?
It was good. It
Yeah,
was good. Aaron Spelling knew what he was doing, and he didn't tolerate
right.
fools, and he didn't tolerate out of control egos. And that's the first thing he said when I finally got the role, that
Mm-hmm.
you get to meet Aaron Spelling. And so they
Yeah.
brought me to the Spelling building, and there I'm sitting across from him, and all I'm thinking of is his guest star in I Love Lucy. I'm looking at him going, oh my God,
Right.
you did Lucy Goes to Hollywood, and you were in yeah. But I never said that.
Right.
I want me to tell you my Johnny Carson story because it's kind of similar to
Okay.
that. But so he told me, what he expected from me, and he knew I was a professional and blah, blah, blah. And it was great. And he kept all the
Yeah.
egos because that was
I'm sure there were a lot.
Ego City.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it was a really good experience. I like the
Okay.
character. I
Right.
like the
Yeah, I remember that. It was yeah, she was tough.
Yeah, she was tough. Alicia
Yeah.
Barnett. I think
Yeah.
her name. She was tough. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So what do you got going on now?
I am co-producing with my husband and our other partner, David Matakin, a independent film. We're about to shoot on location up in Washington, state of Washington. It's called The Addiction of Hope, and it Clancy Brown and Erica Alexander and Harley Jane Kozak, and it's
Oh
just
wow.
really a
Right.
lovely, yeah, a
Oh
lovely
great.
film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We were just watching my wife and I Get Out the other day, and Erica Alexander was in that, and like, it just didn't occur to me, like, oh shit, that's Pam from Cosby Show. It didn't occur to me for like
Yeah.
half hour
You
after
know,
watching that. Yeah.
Erica, she and I have been friends ever since I did an episode of Living Single. That scene is also on my comedy reel because my
Okay.
character on Living Single, she was doing kind of like an Oprah Winfrey billionaire type of character.
Right.
And so I wanted to have this long fake hair, to really
Yeah.
emphasize woman's bloated ego. So not that Oprah is, I'm just saying the
Right, of
character.
course. Yeah, the character. Yeah.
And so we're in the middle of shooting, and my character says something, and she storms off, and she turns around, she flicks her hair, and she exits the office. Well, I turned around and flicked my hair, and I got caught on a coat rack, and they kept it in. It is, and Erica and I, we don't break character, and I'm trying to get my hair free, and Erica gets up and releases my hair from the coat rack.
Okay.
She is the ultimate professional, but I love it. Anyway, she's in the film. She's great. I love Erica.
Oh, good. Yeah. When is that going to be in the theater? It's not streaming, right?
Well, let's
Yeah, right.
pray that it will be. But it'll probably be, go through the festival circuit and all that.
Okay.
And be purchased.
Oh, great. Good luck with that. When is that
well, we're hoping for fall winter 2024.
Okay.
So,
right around the corner.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Very nerve-wracking, but it's exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. But Emery, I really appreciate your time today. I mean, you were so gracious with your time. I love everything you do, and continued success.
Thank you so much. And listen, you got a good gig. Now let's just get you paid.
Absolutely. I'll take in. Oh, wait, you know what? Johnny Carson story.
Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
So blessed to be on Johnny Carson and Jay. Blessed.
Right.
But when I was being interviewed for the Johnny Carson show, right before you go on, Fred DeCurva says to you, or said to me, whatever you do, don't touch Johnny, don't look him in the eye, and don't say how long you've been watching him. Now, this is before the curtain is opening. Right. So I'm like, okay, I did join.
Exactly.
I walk out.
Yeah.
I broke every rule. I touched his hand. I looked him directly in the eye, and I said, "Oh my God, I've been watching my whole life."
Yeah.
And they were. He wasn't furious, but
Fred was
furious with me.
Yeah. They should have told you in the green room, not like right before the curtain.
You know what? Yeah. How about telling you days before?
Exactly. You
hear Ed McMahon saying, "And next."
Yeah. You're like, whoa. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but he was great. Johnny was very gracious and lovely. Right. And what can you do?
That's great. Oh, now I got a couple more. So I'm sorry. I saw the clip of you in Card Sharks, which was great. That was yeah. Did you also do a pyramid, $25,000 pyramid?
Yes.
Okay.
Those were the days where you were allowed to do a couple of game shows a year. And they knew that you were a struggling actor.
Okay.
Right. But that was a lot of fun. Was so much fun.
Yeah. Your opponent she was annoying.
I don't remember.
Oh God, yeah. The clip's on YouTube. It's funny. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to look. I do not remember. I remember, the experience, but I don't remember anything else.
Yeah. But Pluto TV also has a game show.
Oh my, really? Okay, so I'll have to. Yeah, because that was over 40 years ago, my friend.
Right. Yeah. Time flies. Thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you.
And a special thanks to Anne-Marie for joining me today. And if you haven't seen the work that she's been in, please do. She's very talented. And if you have a guest suggestion, hit me up on Twitter at @TheFirstNoel19 or like the page Living My Youth on Facebook. You can go to iTunes, check out all the past episodes we've had. While you're there, please rate and review the show. You don't have iTunes? Not a problem. Show's on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, wherever you can find a podcast. A new episode will come out soon. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you then.